It is time for Inside and Out with your host, Patricia Stark.
Baby, you're a firework. Come on, show 'em what you work. Make 'em go.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Inside and Out with Patricia Stark. I am Patricia Stark. Hope you're having a great day out there. It's a little rainy out today, but what really matters is the weather in your mind. My husband laughs when I say that, but it's really true. You can kind of have a sunny day in your head if you choose to, or we can have a miserable rainy day when it actually is sunny outside. So, wishing you a sunny day in your mind today. Which brings me to our topic. So many of my clients are faced with pounding hearts, sweaty palms, and that outer body experience feeling when they have to give a speech or get interviewed or appear on television. So for those of you that don't know about my company, it's Patricia Stark Communications, and we work with people to help them do public speaking, to appear on television. Maybe they're a guest expert or an author that doesn't want to be in front of the camera or never aspired to be, but now all of a sudden has to be to either promote their book or their career or their products or services, and simply just also people that have to get up in front of a room and give a speech or be interviewed. And I see this time and time again that people put so much pressure on themselves, or they get so worked up and worried about this. And many times what it really comes down to is that they just don't do this every day. So they haven't been able to get used to it or get desensitized to it. And I like to say that being in front of a group or on stage or on camera is basically you have to get used to being comfortable, being uncomfortable. And once you do, things get easier. And one of the things that I want to focus on today is what I call calmfidence. It's kind of a blend of being calm and having confidence, because you can't communicate well with others if you're not calm. You simply can't. And even more important than that, you can't communicate with yourself when you're not calm. I mean, how many times have you gotten yourself all worked up and you can't focus, you can't think straight, you just aren't sharp because your mind is like a shaken snow globe and everything is all over the place. So today we're going to talk about 10 tips for confidence, 10 tips to be calm and confident under pressure. So one of the first tips was something that I actually learned a long time ago when I was probably a late teenager, early 20s. I had first started working in front of the camera, and I was really a nervous wreck all the time. And, I grew up, I didn't have a lot of confidence when I was growing up. For whatever reason, I just didn't. I mean, I was terrified to walk up to the lunch line by myself without bringing a friend. I can remember raising my arm in class and wanting to, and sometimes not even raising my hand. But when I did, feeling the sweat pouring down my sides and just being very nervous and not having a lot of confidence and getting myself all worked up like this. And as I matured and I learned things, I got better at it. And I think that's why I do what I do for a living, because been there, done that, totally know how debilitating that feeling can be. And I think that's why I love to help people find their voice and communicate with confidence. And I met this man who was some big executive. I think he might have even owned some company. He was this really high, powerful profile guy. One of those guys that's big and verbose and the booming voice. And I feel like he wore a cowboy hat, and he's just a larger-than-life character that made everybody feel welcome and like the most important person in the room, that type of fella. And I remember talking to him about feeling like I wanted to be more confident, or I was getting nervous. I don't remember the whole conversation, but somebody had asked him one time, and he told me the story about how does he achieve so much under so much pressure without stressing out or having a heart attack or getting sick or getting overwhelmed. And he said that his trick was that every day, for at least a few minutes or before going into a big meeting or an event or whatever it might be, he called it that he would do his sack of potatoes routine. And basically what he said was that he would sit in his seat and let his whole body relax as if he was a sack of potatoes, and he'd feel like as if he opened the bottom of the sack by his feet and cut a hole in the bottom and let all the potatoes roll out. And he would just completely relax his whole body into his chair. His arms would would be hanging, his legs would be hanging, his feet would be hanging, and he would just completely relax his whole body right before going into a high pressure situation. And I tried this because he recommended, he swore by it, and felt that, this was one of the things that made him be so successful, to handle life under pressure. And it worked. And it really makes a lot of sense if you think about it, because before we go into a stressful situation, usually where are our shoulders? They're up around by our necks or by our ears. I mean, most people hold stress in their neck area or in their shoulder area. We don't even realize sometimes how we are holding our body and what's happening to our body before we go into a situation. So the cool thing about our mind is that as much as we can work ourselves up into a frenzy, we do have the exact opposite power to work ourselves down and to talk ourselves down off the roof. And the great thing about our physiology is that our body actually can either work for us or work against us. And thankfully, with our mind, we have control over our body. So to do this sack of potatoes technique before you have to go into any kind of a high stakes or high pressure situation, and it could be as simple as, having a difficult conversation with somebody that you've been putting off and you're getting yourself all stressed out about it, practice this sack of potatoes technique. And I think that it really will help. For most people, I've found it's a really effective way to just get your body a little bit more in shape and not so high-strung and so tensed. And it does help your heart rate and your blood pressure, etc. The next tip for calm confidence is get fruity and get floral. And what I mean by this is have things on hand. Very simple things that are found in nature that you don't have to go grab for a medicine bottle or a drink. Cherries, bananas, lemon and lime, lavender, and sage. And I'll explain to you each one. And I've researched all of these, and many of these have come through doctors that have recommended some of these things, some Broadway performers who are very much under stress to, repeat that same awesome performance day after day on stage. And also at one point in my career, I was doing videos for Prevention Magazine where I would be their spokesperson, and we would talk about all kinds of tips for health and wellness. So some of these I've garnered from there as well. So the first one is bananas. I first heard of this when I was working. My studio is in the heart of the theater district in the film center. And I had some Broadway performers that would come in through my door that were looking to transition from stage to working in front of the camera. Maybe they wanted to host a show or do something where they were a spokesperson or something like that. And they would tell me that they all swore by bananas. And I'm thinking, why bananas? And they said that they were known to act as natural beta blockers. And if you know what a beta blocker is, it is something that helps control your blood pressure and your heart rate and can kind of give you that natural calm. And apparently bananas are natural beta blockers. So I did some research and I looked this up on the web. And in addition to being natural beta blockers, I found that bananas are actually also natural muscle relaxants. So that's pretty cool. If you're getting all tense and your muscles are all spacing out because you've got yourself worked up into knots, eat some bananas. So I think that that's a really nice combination of very easy things to have on hand. And cherries was another one. I was going to my doctor that's in New Jersey, and he's very into life extension. He's got older people, literally, you're talking 80, 90-year-old people in his office. They're bouncing off the walls. I don't know what he's telling these people to eat or how he's helping them. I know some details, but whatever it is, it's working. And he has a lot of natural ideas as far as foods that we should eat. He's big on garlic and onions because he says they all kind of help with inflammation. And I was looking at this sheet of recommended foods on his wall one day, and cherries was listed as something that not only can help you get calm, but can actually help you sleep. So we're going to talk about sleep in a minute as well, but if you are having any trouble sleeping or napping or resting, cherries, good old-fashioned, nice black dark cherries are supposed to really help with this. So try some cherries again when you need that calm confidence. Eat some bananas, eat some cherries. The next thing is lemon and lime. When I was doing the Prevention Magazine tips, it said that lemon and lime, that just even the smell of lemon and lime can work as natural things that help lower our cortisol, which is our stress hormone. So even just smelling the zestiness of the lemon and lime can calm you down to a certain degree. And lavender. Many people may know about this. When I was pregnant with my son, this was recommended to me to use lavender creams and essential oils and those things to keep yourself calm while you're either, carrying the child or going through the delivery. So we've got lemon and lime and lavender. And the final thing of my kind of get fruity and floral, but is more of a spice, is sage. I recently had a client who is going to be going on the air. It's actually a big new show. He's going to be the sidekick of a very well-known person. I can't say any of this details yet, but he's a really cool person. And he was telling me that he has an issue where he sweats a lot on his face. And I looked this up, and there is a name for it. I want to see if I have it here. Let's see. It's called hyperhidrosis, where it's like a sweat gland disorder. And I don't know if he has this, but people have this who sweat a lot, either under their arms or facially. And if you're going on stage or you're in front of the camera, this is one thing you don't want to have happening. If you remember that old movie Broadcast News, where the guy was just sweating profusely and the sweat was pouring out, it's not a good look in front of the camera or when you're trying to give a speech. So I started researching some tips and tricks for sweating, and I came across sage. Now, it says that sage is it helps with the natural sweating. It's a natural antiperspirant, and apparently you can do some kind of a concoction with it. And I would say, talk to your local health food store. They probably know a lot of details about this. But Dr. Andrew Weil, if you might have heard of him, and other herbologists have lots of suggestions for sage, that it can really help you to stop any of that sweating that you don't want to see, and especially on your face. I think you ingest it. I think you can even put some essential oils of sage on your face. And witch hazel also came up too, that really helps, before you would put makeup on, if you're a woman, or even men who have to go on camera have to put on some kind of powders and things like that. So sage was another great one that I thought. So we've got cherries, bananas, beta blockers that work for the bananas. So cherries, bananas, lemon, lime, lavender, and sage. Sounds like a song, doesn't it? The next thing for our 10 tips for calm confidence, number 3, is chew gum. There was a university study done in England which showed that university students actually performed better when they were chewing gum, and that something to do with repetitive motion gets you in this rhythmic thinking. It actually helps your cognitive processing, and when you're thinking better and you're thinking in more rhythmic thought process, that can actually calm you and help you be more focused on the task at hand. But of course, before you go on camera or before you go out on stage or into that interview, you want to take the gum out of your mouth. You don't want to be chewing that gum. My father always had a great old saying, the gum-chewing girl and the cud-chewing cow resemble each other, yet differ somehow. Oh yes, I see it all now. The intelligent look on the face of the cow. So we don't want to chew gum when we're in front of people, but it certainly can help you calm yourself. And I know that people many times don't know what to do with their face when they are getting into a situation, if they're mingling or walking into a big event by themselves. And sometimes just that little chewing on the gum can kind of give you something to do, and also to relax your jaw muscles so you're not clenching your teeth. Number 4 for calm confidence is prepare, and rehearse. I recently went to an event that was all about giving presentations and being confident in front of a room, and Leslie Stahl of 60 Minutes was one of the people that were on the panel, and she initially brought the topic up of preparation, and she really was saying, and which I agree with wholeheartedly, is that nothing gives you more calm confidence than knowing that you're prepared for whatever it is that you're going into. And unfortunately, when it's something that we're stressing out about, many times we wait till the last minute to prepare for that speech or to prepare for that interview or to confront somebody that we really maybe need to have a difficult conversation with. So preparation, rehearsing, practice, making sure sure you've got all your ducks in a row, you've done your homework, you've done your due diligence. All of these things will give you that quiet, calm confidence much more going into a situation than if you're just trying to wing it or you've been procrastinating. Number 5, my tip for calm confidence is watch your body language. As I mentioned earlier, our physiology can completely affect our mind, and our mind can affect our body. Now, Amy Cuddy is a social psychologist out of Harvard University, and she had done a study about body language, and they took it a step further where they had all of these people, I think it was a couple thousand people, where they would show that when they went into more low confidence body positions where they kind of imploded on themselves, they minimized themselves, they made themselves smaller with hunched shoulders or their hands folded on their laps, and put their legs crossed, and think almost like getting into the fetal position in a chair. Not quite that extreme, but whenever you go into that more minimized, like you're trying to disappear type of body language, she showed that our cortisol levels, which are those stress hormones, actually go up, and our testosterone levels go down. And both men and women have testosterone levels, as a matter of fact. So when your cortisol and stress hormones go up, you're not going to really handle situations too well. And when your testosterone levels go down, you're not going to be willing to take risks and to take a chance and to, have your voice and be bold out there in the world. And then when they had the same people open up and take a more confident body position with their chin up and great posture and their shoulders back and owning their space and opening up and making themselves larger in their space, the exact opposite happened. And this was only within 2 minutes, by the way. So all of a sudden, in a larger body language, when you're standing up more confidently and holding yourself like you're maximizing your space and your presence, all of a sudden those cortisol levels dropped and the testosterone levels jumped, which meant that you were more calm and you were more likely to be confident and take chances and take risks. So watch your body language, hugely important. Number 6 is put your face on ice. And why I say this is there's something called the mammalian diving reflex, where they showed that all mammals, that when they dive into cold water, this thing happens where when face hits your water and when water hits your face, cold water, ice water, that it actually helps your heart rate slow down so that mammals can stay underwater longer. It's like a safety, life-saving reflex. So I guess that animals or even people could dive for their food at one time. And it showed that your heart rate slows between 10 to 25% immediately. So when people would say, splash cold water in your face to kind of get a grip, they're not fooling. It really has a physiological effect on your body. So I took this one step further with my clients, because many people that are going for a job interview or about to be in front of an audience or on camera aren't going to want to splash water in their face if they've got makeup on and a nice suit or they've done their hair or whatever. So I've said take some ice cubes and just hold them on your face. And this has kind of a dual effect. If you hold them under your eyes, it can actually help with the puffiness that you might have under your eyes if you didn't get a lot of sleep or you've been stressed out. And it will help lower that heart rate. And it can give you a little bit of rosy color in your cheeks so you look like you have some nice healthy color going into a situation. So a little ice in a container. You can get these to-go travel bags that you can even put small ice packs in there. But try a little ice on your face before you're going into that situation. And if you're someone who tends to kind of get a little flushed when you're embarrassed or nervous, this will help with that also. Number 7, meditate and visualize. Now, if you've been someone who's been listening to my show, you know that I'm big on this. Think about in all the things that we're juggling every day, most of us don't take 2 minutes to just be quiet, to have calm and just let that snow globe that's always shaking around, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, to let it just all settle. So you can think straight, so that you can calm yourself. And also, when you do this, you have a moment to visualize and think about how do you want things to go. Many times before going into a situation, we're real good at visualizing fully what can go wrong. That's usually the last thing that we think about is, I hope this doesn't happen. I hope this doesn't go wrong. We visualize worst case scenarios, and that's what we're programming our subconscious right before we're going to go into a high stakes situation. Well, when you're nervous, where do you think your mind goes? To that primitive place, which is your subconscious, which is your autopilot that you will default to, by the way. So make sure that you take moments to just calm, quiet. And when I say meditate, I don't mean you have to crisscross your legs and say Om and be in a dark room with incense and those things. I interviewed an author named Mark Thornton who wrote a book called Meditation in a New York Minute. And he had worked in the finance industry and was just stressed out all the time. And he started getting into meditation, and he actually left his job so that he could now go back to corporations and teach people how to meditate just for a minute at the water cooler, at a minute in the restroom, behind a wall, down the hall, wherever it may be, to just let that quiet confidence come through, and to control that breathing, and to visualize things that you want to have happen. And this is where you can do some of those mantras. And I know it might sound like new age hooey to some people, but this stuff does work, and I've seen it work for myself and my clients. And just say to yourself, you can say calm confidence, calm confidence, confidence, calm confidence, rather than reciting the worst case scenarios and what could go wrong. I witnessed one of my son's friend's little brothers doing this not that long ago. He was doing some sport, he was about to do something. This kid was 6 years old, and I don't know if his parents taught him how to do this, but I heard him under his breath reciting, confidence, you can do this, be confident, you can do this. And I was like, oh boy, can half the world learn something from this little boy? He knew that was helping him, and he just kept saying it over and over. And whatever he did after that, he had it, because he had convinced himself of something positive rather than convincing himself of something negative. Number 8, avoid concoctions, avoid external things. I had a client recently come to me that was very nervous about going in front of the camera, and she said to me, well, I have a great plan because I get really nervous and my heart pounds and I'm a nervous wreck about this. I'm going to take a half a Xanax and a half an Adderall. And I looked at her and I was like, are you kidding me? I have plenty of other things that you can do so you don't have to do this. Now, if you don't know what these things are, a Xanax is something that will calm you. There's certainly its place if there's a prescription from a doctor and someone is suffering from clinical anxiety or depression or things like that. But to just take it to calm someone's self before an event like this, you need to be able to get desensitized. The best way to have confidence and be calm in the future is to just let yourself go through these things where you're going to feel uncomfortable, because that's why they're called growing pains. They're called growing pains for a reason. They're not pleasant. But if you can conquer that fear of public speaking or confrontation or whatever it may be in small steps and small bites, you actually will have real confidence that will build over time. And this Adderall is something I think that helps people focus, or it's something that's prescribed for people with focus issues. And I just said to her, try some of these natural things rather than this concoction, because they can also dull your senses, and you're not necessarily thinking sharp on your feet when it counts, when it's important in front of a group of people, or when you're giving a presentation or an interview or whatever it may be. I had one client tell me that she took a glass of white wine right before an event, and she was so sorry she did it afterwards, because she said, you know what, I never realized that heart rate and that nervous energy actually made me sharper. When you just get over that hump and you just let it go and just expect it, welcome it, know it's part of the territory, don't fight it, don't say I shouldn't be nervous, I shouldn't be stressed, because you should, because it depends on what the situation is. Of course you're going to feel these things. Allow that. And she said, I wasn't as sharp. I was worried that I was going to forget things. I felt like I didn't have my act together, my game plan, because it dulled her senses. So try not to use external concoctions and alcohol and things like that, because it really just gives you a false confidence. That's not a true confidence. Number 9, check your price tag. And what I mean by this is, what price are you putting on this that's getting you so stressed out and so worked up? And many times it's not a valid price. Many times we make things more horrible, make them be a more stressful price, make it be a bigger deal than it really is. And I try to help my clients put this into perspective, and I'll say to them, and this is an extreme example, I'll say, okay, you have to get up in front of that stage, or you have to get up in front of that camera, and you're telling me that it's possibly the worst feeling in the world because you're so nervous, you're so stressed out. And I'll say, well, you know what? When you're in that situation, maybe play a mind game with yourself and say, where does this really fall in the scheme of my life? Really, how important is this? Would I rather be in this moment of this confrontation or this high-stakes presentation or this job interview that I really need or this nervousness about being in front of the camera? Or would I rather be at the deathbed of a loved one? Boy, doesn't that kind of put things into perspective. And when you play that price game in your mind, suddenly you realize, you know what? This isn't that bad. I can get through this. I can do this, because I sure as heck could be in a lot worse situations with wars going on around the world and poverty and all of these other things and true sickness and illness and all these other things. Most of the stuff that we get ourselves worked up about really pales in comparison if you can put it into perspective. So watch the price tag that you're putting on the things that are stressing you out. Number 10, live in day-tight compartments. There was a book that I read many years ago called How to Stop Worrying and How to Start Living by Dale Carnegie. And there was a whole section on this whole idea of living in day-tight compartments, because no human being can handle the enormity of yesterday, today, and tomorrow simultaneously. And we shouldn't, because yesterday is gone, it doesn't exist anymore, and tomorrow, it hasn't happened yet, and it doesn't exist anymore. All that really exists right now is this very moment. And I took this a step further. I said, okay, that was a brilliant idea of, you know what, I can make it from this morning till tonight if I just focus on that, depending on what situation is going on in your life, if we can try to segment it in day-tight compartments. But we can take it a step further and say, I'm going to live in just hour-tight compartments. I can handle this hour that's in front of me, whatever that is that I have to deal with right now. Or this moment, or these 12 minutes of this speech, or this TV appearance, or this difficult phone conversation. If you can segment your life and make it in small digestible bites. There's a saying in acting where someone's trying to learn a large script, and they call it eating the elephant. Anybody can eat an entire elephant if you start with just the toe, then the foot, then the ankle, then the calf, then the knee. So try and look at whatever this situation that you're not being calm about is eating at you, and try to look at it in those morsel, day-tight, moment, hour-tight compartments. And at the end of the day, this can help you categorize and prioritize concerns in your life, and it can help you leave the day behind. Because when you're not sleeping well, everything is harder. And if you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't shut your mind off, the next day it's more difficult to have that calm confidence when you're not well rested. So at the end of the day, just say to yourself, this day is done. You can write stuff down on a piece of paper, crumple it up, and throw it in the garbage. If you want to write it in a journal, let it go and say, tomorrow, I will take care of tomorrow. But right now, I've lived in this day-tight compartment. It's over. I'm going to sleep. I can deal with tomorrow. And that will help. And one technique that a psychologist taught me a long time ago, I was taking and I've had him on the show, Dr. Thomas Nardi. He's a great guy. In our area here, he talks about how when you're laying in bed, if you feel like you can't get to sleep, pretend that there's light bulbs all up and down your body, and they're all lit up, and start at your toes, and very slowly turn off those lights. Start with your toes, shut those lights down, then move up to your ankles, then your calves, then your knees. You get the picture. And then all the way up. And you can make as many light bulbs as you want in many parts of your body as you want until you get to the top of your head. This will calm you. This will get your mind off things that you can't turn your mind off to. And it will relax your body, calm your blood pressure and your heart rate, and hopefully you will fall to sleep. And even if you don't fall to sleep, know that when your body is resting in a state like that, you are getting rest. And that is rejuvenating and helpful for your body. And I'll leave you on one last note. Wayne Dwyer, who is a wonderful author and self-help guru, if you will, always talked about how, think about the word disease. If you separate that word, it's dis-ease. So when we're not at ease, when we're stressed out, when we're not calm, what can happen? Dis-ease. So try not to be in dis-ease so that you can be healthy, live a long life, and I wish you calm confidence for today and any of the next situations that you get into. This has been Inside and Out with Patricia Stark. You can find me at www.patriciastark.com and make it a great day.
Baby,